Owen drags the eraser through my name while the ink is still damp. Elena, recovery lead, disappears beneath a gray smear. He keeps talking as if his hand has nothing to do with his mouth. At Monday's client review, our operations chief presented my turnaround as his own, I would tell June later. In the moment, I stand beside the conference table with 12 regional directors, watching him erase me from the recovery timeline. Simone Vale closes her leather folder. And Elena's role? Owen gives the room his patient smile. She only tidied my notes. He wipes away my initials from the final week. I stay silent. That is what he expects. Then Simone walks past him to the daily whiteboard overlooking the laundry floor. Owen has cleared the timeline, but my shift codes remain crowded along the bottom. C3, T2, F/540, R1, B4, blue +2. Simone touches the first sequence. This is the order that rescued our Monday surgeries. Owen's smile holds. She looks at him. Why did Census Tier 3 have to enter Tunnel 2 before Flatwork reopened at 5:40? My brother glances at me. For the first time that morning, he needs my voice. Below us, 300 pounds of wet hospital sheets drop from a sling into the mouth of Wash Tunnel 1. The floor trembles. Through the glass, workers in blue smocks move carts between painted lanes, while steam fogs the far windows. The whole plant looks orderly from up here. Distance is generous that way. Owen rests the eraser on the tray. Elena can walk you through the line-level detail. Line-level detail. 3 months of sleeping in my office twice a week has become line-level detail. Simone waits. I look at the board instead of my brother. C3 was St. Vincent's projected census tier. At that level, their reserve inventory dropped below 8 hours if we followed the standard route. Tunnel 1 had the surgical packs, so we moved general linen through Tunnel 2, held the hotel sheets, and opened Flatwork early. 5:40 was the latest release that could meet the first doc appointment. Who made that call? The conference room goes very still around the machinery's distant pounding. Owen picks up a marker and caps it again. The recovery team operated collaboratively. That wasn't my question, Simone says. Our father shifts at the head of the table. Walter Mercer has spent 40 years learning how to make silence feel like a personnel decision. He rubs one thumb across the smooth face of his old watch. I could answer. The nightly production logs are upstairs. The dispatch sheets carry my initials. Simone has 91 photographs of this board because she asked for visual proof every evening after the second missed delivery. I could put all of it on the table before Owen finds another sentence. Then I see my father's thumb stop moving. 3 days earlier in his office, he had said, "This account keeps the second shift working. Whatever private friction you two have, Monday belongs to the company." Private friction. Owen taking credit. Me noticing. I made that call, I say. Owen turns toward me slowly. Simone nods once, as if I have confirmed a number she already calculated. Thank you. My father checks his watch. We have the plant tour at 9:30. It is 9:28. Owen recovers faster than most people. That is one of his real talents. He can miss a stair and make the stumble look like he meant to change direction. Exactly, he says. And the larger point is that we built a repeatable process under pressure. Elena, why don't you take the directors down to finishing? I'll give Simone the executive summary she requested. Simone slides her folder under her arm. I'd rather see the sequence from the beginning. Of course, with Elena. A muscle jumps beside Owen's jaw, gone almost before I see it. He opens the conference room door. Then you're in excellent hands. The hallway outside smells faintly of hot cotton and the lemon oil our receptionist uses on the framed photographs. 42 years of Mercer Textile Services line the wall. My father in flared trousers beside the first delivery van. My mother cutting a ribbon at the old plant. Owen and me at a trade association dinner, both holding the same glass award because the photographer insisted. In that picture, his hand covers mine. Simone pauses beside it. Family business. Most days, I say. She looks at me, deciding whether I have made a joke. What is it on the other days? Still a business. That earns the smallest curve at the corner of her mouth. Owen comes out behind us with the regional directors. Ear protection is on the rack. Please keep inside the yellow lines. The soil dock drivers believe those lines are decorative. He gets a laugh. He should. It is funny, and the drivers really do treat the paint as a suggestion. On the stairs, he moves to the front and begins explaining how he negotiated emergency weekend pickups from 2 smaller hospital groups. He did that. He also persuaded our chemical supplier to split a shipment when a highway closure stranded the main truck. I spent half of that Saturday furious with him, and the other half grateful he was good at his job. That is the trouble with Owen. A simpler man would have been easier to hate. The heat meets us at the bottom of the stairs. Flat work line 3 breathes like a dragon, pulling damp sheets beneath a heated chest and sending them out pressed, folded, and stacked. Marcus Bell stands at the discharge end with a radio clipped to his vest. He sees the group, sees me behind Owen, and lifts 2 fingers. Marcus has worked nights for 26 years and communicates entire performance reviews with those 2 fingers. Owen stops beside a row of blue carts. This was the heart of the recovery. We color-zoned by customer priority and built a dynamic release schedule. Marcus looks at me. I look at the carts. The blue carts predate Owen's first driver's license. Simone runs a finger over a laminated card wired to one handle. Blue +2. Correct, Owen says. 2 additional carts staged for overflow. Marcus coughs into his fist. The card reads, Isolation Buffer, Census Escalation. I wrote it in block letters large enough to survive steam and bad lighting. Simone turns the tag over. My initials and the revision date are on the back. 2 additional census tiers, she says. Owen barely pauses, which naturally requires additional carts. Sometimes, I say. His eyes land on me. Simone asks, and when it doesn't? When the mix changes. 2 tiers of orthopedic patients can mean more flat sheets and draw sheets. 2 tiers in isolation can consume gowns, bath blankets, and barrier linen faster than carts can cycle. The color tells us which inventory buffer we're protecting. The number tells us how far the forecast moved. One of the regional directors, a lean man named Peter Shue, studies Owen. That seems important. It is, Owen says. That's why I asked Elena to formalize it. Marcus coughs again. This time it sounds suspiciously like the word asked. I step toward him. You all right? Lint, he says solemnly. Gets me around revisions. Owen's stare could iron a fitted sheet. We continue toward the wash alley. June Park is crouched beside the control panel for Tunnel 2, talking to a maintenance technician. Her dark braid is threaded through the back of her hard hat so neatly it looks engineered. How long? I ask. 12 minutes if the steam valve behaves, 20 if it expresses itself. Has it been expressing itself? It has opinions. Simone glances between us. Is this the tunnel from the code? June stands and wipes her hands on a rag. T2? Yes. And the 540 flatwork opening depended on it? Everything depended on it that morning. June points toward the overhead pipes. We had a 90-minute boiler window. Elena staggered the wash formulas so Tunnel 2 finished general linen while 1 stayed on surgical classifications. Bought us 37 minutes. Owen steps in. That stagger was part of the broader recovery model. June's face goes pleasantly blank. She is better at blank than I am. Of course, she says. The valve behind her bangs hard enough to make 2 directors jump. June turns to the panel. There's its closing argument. By the time the tour reaches the clean dock, Owen has regained the rhythm of the room. He knows truck costs by route, can explain why the Western hospitals need split deliveries, remembers which director once managed a fleet in Ohio. People lean toward competence, and Owen gives them enough of it to make the borrowed parts seem plausible. At Dock 6, Simone lingers while the others follow him toward the coffee station. Did you design the codes? She asks. A cart rattles between us, pushed by a woman from packing who mouths sorry as she passes. I designed the current sequence, I say. That is a careful answer. We used codes before. They were department-specific. Washroom had one language, finishing had another, dispatch had a third. During the backlog, they kept optimizing their own numbers and starving the next step. I linked them. Did Owen ask you to? He told me to fix the hospital account. And the board photographs? You asked for them. I asked him. He forwarded the request to me. Her mouth tightens. She looks through the open dock at a Mercer truck backing into place. I sent comments every night. He forwarded some of those too. Some? The driver taps the horn twice. The dock plate lowers with a metallic crash. I say, you should ask Owen. Simone watches me for a moment. You're very loyal. I think of my father's stopped thumb. That depends who's defining it. She slips a business card from her folder and offers it to me. I already have her number in 3 email chains, but I take it. My direct line, she says, in case forwarding becomes inefficient. At the coffee station, Owen is telling Peter Shue about the boiler failure that started the crisis. Walter stands near the creamers stirring a cup he drinks black. When he sees Simone hand me the card, the spoon taps once against the rim. Owen sees it too. He finishes the tour without another mistake. After the directors leave, I return to the conference room. The timeline is a pale mess of erased ink. My codes still line the bottom because Owen does not know which ones matter enough to remove. I photograph the board. You planning a scrapbook? He is in the doorway, jacket off, sleeves rolled exactly twice. Owen has always rolled them the same width. Even at our mother's funeral, they sat even on his forearms while everything else came apart. Daily record, I say. The client review is over. The shift isn't. He comes in and closes the door. What was that downstairs? A plant tour. You corrected me in front of regional leadership. Simone corrected you. Marcus coughed. You enjoyed it. I tuck my phone into my pocket. That's what worries you? What worries me is watching you confuse technical contribution with executive ownership. The words sound practiced. Perhaps they are. Owen prepares arguments the way I prepare shifts. Before anyone else realizes, there will be trouble. You said I tidied your notes. You did more than that. Generous. I had 8 people in that room who needed confidence in the operation. They don't need a family dispute over whose handwriting is on a whiteboard. You erased my name. It was cluttering the slide. It was a whiteboard. You know what I mean. Yes, I say. I finally do. His face changes then. The irritation remains, but something more alert moves behind it. He had expected anger. Anger is easy to describe to our father. Anger becomes Elena made a scene. Elena is sensitive about recognition. Elena needs to think strategically. Understanding makes him careful. He walks to the board and studies the remaining codes. We need to standardize this. We've been standardizing it for 6 weeks. I mean properly. Something transferable. Clean documentation, controlled access, an executive owner. You, the operations chief, generally owns operations. Then the operations chief should know what blue +2 means. He turns. You think one question changes what happened here? No. That's why you should stop changing what happened. For a second, I see the brother who once drove through an ice storm to bring me a replacement alternator, swearing the entire way because I had ignored the warning light. Then his expression seals over. Dad wants the succession announcement before the association dinner, he says. This recovery is bigger than your feelings. There it is. Not greed exactly. Fear with a tailored jacket. You could have included me. I did include you. On the erased line? His jaw tightens. Go home, Elena. I have a 2:00 capacity meeting. Marcus can cover it. Marcus worked all night. Then June. She has a steam valve expressing itself. His mouth twitches before he can stop it. Mine almost does too. For one dangerous second, we are ourselves again. Then he picks up the eraser and scrubs at the gray stain where my name used to be. You're off the hospital calls for the rest of the week, he says. I want your process notes organized, every code, decision rule, and exception. Send them to me by Thursday. Why? Because we're moving from recovery to governance, and because Simone recognized my work. He sets down the eraser. Be very sure about the fight you're choosing. I look at the muddy patch spreading across the board. I didn't choose it. At 2:15, while I am reviewing cart counts with Marcus, an email arrives from Owen. My title on the hospital account is changed from recovery lead to documentation support. The client distribution list is gone. Attached is a 12-page postmortem titled The Mercer Recovery Model. Owen is listed as author and executive architect. My name appears once under administrative coordination. Marcus reads over my shoulder, then slowly removes his glasses. Administrative, he says. That explains why you were under a boiler at 3 a.m. I was beside the boiler. Good. I'd hate for the report to contain an inaccuracy. At the bottom of the email, Owen has added one sentence. Please sign the acknowledgement page by end of day. I scroll to the final page. Above the signature line, the document states that the recovery codes were developed under Owen's direction and compiled from his operational strategy notes. Marcus waits. Across the floor, someone wheels a blue cart into the wrong lane. A packer catches it, checks my laminated card, and turns it toward the isolation buffer without calling a supervisor. The system works, quietly, in other people's hands. I close the attachment. Then I open a fresh email to my brother, our father, and human resources. I type one sentence. I won't certify authorship I know is false. I read the sentence twice before I send it. The reply comes from Carla Voss in Human Resources 7 minutes later. Please come upstairs. Marcus puts his glasses back on. That was fast. Carla's office is 20 feet from Dad's. Still fast. You want to cover capacity? I thought I was exhausted. You are. He looks toward the stairs. I've recovered. Carla's office has 2 chairs for employees and 1 round table placed where nobody can hide their hands. A framed print on the wall says, "Listen to understand." Owen is already there. So is my father. Carla gestures to the empty chair. "Elena, sit, please." I'd rather stand. That's fine. Walter dislikes people standing in meetings. It suggests either a quick exit or an uprising. His eyes follow me as I move beside the window. Carla folds her hands. I'd like to understand your concern with the acknowledgement. The statement isn't true. Which part? The codes weren't developed under Owen's direction or compiled from his strategy notes. Owen leans back. I told you to fix the account. You told me on a loading dock after St. Vincent's rejected the 3rd late truck. That was direction. You also told me to stop color-coding everything because it made the dock look like a preschool. Carla's eyes lower to her legal pad. My father closes his. Owen says, we were under pressure. The larger strategy was mine. What larger strategy? Recover service, protect the contract, rebuild client confidence. That's a goal. It's executive strategy. It's 3 verbs. Walter cuts in. Enough. The word lands with its old force. When we were younger, one enough from our father could stop an argument before either of us remembered what we wanted. Owen still goes quiet. I feel the reflex tug at me too. Carla turns the postmortem toward me. Would you sign if we changed the wording to say the model was developed by the operations team? Who is listed as the author? The document owner would remain Owen because of his role. Then list the people who designed each part. Owen laughs once through his nose. We don't put credits at the end of internal reports. We put names on work when we want someone accountable for it. That's exactly what I'm doing. No, you're putting your name where the praise is and mine where the typing is. Walter's palm comes down on the table. Not hard, but the spoon beside Carla's coffee jumps. This account pays 1/3 of our plant payroll, he says. I will not let a disagreement over wording threaten it. The wording is threatening Owen's promotion, I say. The account is doing fine. Owen looks at our father. There it is again. The useful version of me. Difficult. Personal. unable to see the stakes. Carla draws a line across her pad. The acknowledgement will be paused pending review. Elena, you are not required to sign it today. Thank you. In the meantime, Owen has authority to assign work within operations. Of course he does. Owen slides a single sheet across the table. Effective immediately, Darren Pike will manage the hospital recovery process. Elena will complete standardization and documentation. Darren has managed dispatch for 7 years. He can reroute 6 trucks around a bridge closure without raising his voice, but he thinks wash formulas are something the chemical company invents to sell us more drums. I read the page. Does Darren know? I spoke to him. Did he say yes? He understands the opportunity. That means Darren asked 3 questions, received 1 answer, and went home with heartburn. My father looks at me. This can settle down if you let it. A laugh rises in my throat. I press my tongue against my teeth until it passes. How is my bonus affected? I ask. Owen's brows lift. He expected me to argue about the title. Performance compensation is always discretionary, he says. My recovery objectives were approved in January, and your ability to transition work is part of leadership. So if I refuse to sign your claim, I lose the bonus. Carla says, no compensation decision has been made. Owen studies me with new attention. If you handle the transition professionally, I'll take that into account. I fold the reassignment sheet once and put it in my pocket. Please send me the transition scope and evaluation criteria in writing. Walter exhales as if I've embarrassed him by asking for a receipt. Darren is waiting at my desk when I come downstairs. He is built like a man who played football long enough for every chair to look slightly undersized. He holds a yellow legal pad and 2 antacid tablets in his palm. You heard, he says. I was in the room. Right. He swallows the tablets dry. How much did Owen tell you? That you'd built the process and I'd be running it. That's more accurate than what he told the client. Darren winces. I don't want to be between you two. You already work here. He considers that, then nods. Fair. I pull out the chair beside mine. Start with the census feed. For 3 hours, I teach him how St. Vincent sends projected occupancy, procedure volume, and isolation demand. I show him where those numbers enter the daily sequence, which changes require a client confirmation, and which can be absorbed by moving carts within the plant. Darren fills 12 pages. He asks good questions. When he gets lost, he says so. At 4:30, Owen stops in the doorway. How's the transfer? Dense, Darren says. Owen looks at me. It doesn't need to be. Which section should I leave out? I'm saying you can simplify. Darren turns his pad around. I asked for the detail. Owen's pleasant expression stays in place, but Darren's stock has fallen in real time. Use your judgment, he says. That's why you were selected. After he leaves, Darren rubs his chest. Antacid? I ask. I may switch to drywall compound. I hand him the laminated code index from my drawer. Take this home. Don't lose it. He studies the color bands. Is there another copy? Controlled PDF on the operations drive. Revision 6. Owen sent me revision 4. I look at him. He looks back. What changed between 4 and 6? He asks. Isolation escalation, boiler window rules, and the exception for mixed surgical loads. The hospital's 3 biggest problems. Yes, Darren sets the index down very carefully. I'm going to email him and ask for the current file. Copy me. He won't like that. He already doesn't like the day. The next morning, a gray metal cabinet appears outside my office. By lunch, 2 facilities workers are measuring the daily whiteboard. I find Luis Ortega holding a tape measure across C3, T2, F. What are you doing? He lets the tape retract. Work order says replace this with a monitor. What monitor? Luis points to the boxed screen on a cart. That monitor. The box shows smiling office workers studying colored graphs. They have never met a steam valve. Who submitted the order? He lifts the paper clipped to his cart. Owen's electronic approval is printed at the bottom. Remove existing whiteboard. Install digital performance dashboard. Dispose of obsolete material per property policy. Don't dispose of it, I say. Luis scratches the side of his nose. Work order says dispose. Property policy requires inventory clearance for mounted equipment. Does a whiteboard count as equipment? It did when accounting depreciated it. He gives me a long look. You know the asset number? I crouch and read the faded sticker beneath the tray. Now I do. Luis writes it on the work order. Equipment cage until clearance. Thank you. I didn't do it for you. Last month I threw out a broken fan and finance made me identify which fiscal year the breeze came from. June walks up carrying 2 paper cups. She hands one to me and watches Luis photograph the board. They're taking it? She asks. Owen wants a dashboard. Can the dashboard tell me when the boiler is lying? It'll have a green circle. Comforting. She watches me photograph the board from 4 angles before the workers loosen the brackets. The old screw in the lower right corner sticks. Luis has to lean his weight into the drill. Under the board, the wall is a cleaner shade of beige, a bright rectangle surrounded by years of plant dust. The office windows suddenly look wrong without it. Owen arrives while the workers are carrying the board toward the freight elevator. You'll have live data now. We had live data before. You had handwriting. From people doing the work. He opens the monitor box and removes a sheet of foam. The company has outgrown marker ink and private shorthand. Then why is Darren working from an old revision? His hands stop. Ask Darren. He asked you. He copied me. I sent him the approved material. Revision 6 is approved. Revision 6 contains temporary recovery measures. We're moving forward. Isolation demand isn't temporary. Owen folds the foam sheet in half. Your assignment is documentation, not policy. June sips her coffee. The steam valve agrees with Elena. He turns toward her. Excuse me. It failed its pressure test this morning. The boiler window rule in Revision 6 kept Tunnel 2 from loading into the dip. Maintenance decisions remain with maintenance. They do. Production needs to know what those decisions mean. Owen looks from June to me. I'd like a word with my sister. June lowers her cup. I'd like a valve that closes. We all have lists. She walks away before he can answer. He waits until she is through the washroom door. Are you recruiting people into this? I trained them. That's not what I asked. I don't need to recruit people who are there. His voice drops. Be careful with June. She values her independence until someone asks her to take responsibility. That sounded almost rehearsed. Experience usually does. He leaves the foam on my desk. The new dashboard lights up that afternoon. It shows pounds washed per hour, truck departure compliance, rewash percentage, and a large green circle labeled Recovery Status, on track. At 5:10, Marcus comes in for nights and stands beneath it. Green, he says, very. Dock 4 is short 80 bath blankets. The circle feels differently. He looks around for the whiteboard. Where's my weather map? Equipment cage. Did it misbehave? It remembered too much. We walk to Dock 4. Darren is already there with a load sheet counting bundles while a driver checks his watch. The 80 bath blankets exist, but they are folded behind 2 carts of standard sheets because the dashboard grouped everything by total clean pounds. Darren points at the screen mounted across the floor. It says we're ahead. By weight, I say. The hospital can't put weight on beds. Marcus taps the blue +2 card wired to the nearest cart. Could try. Patients may object. Darren closes his eyes for 1 second. Can we fix tonight's delivery? Yes. He looks relieved. I wait. What? He asks. You manage the process. His relief drains away. He studies the carts, then the load sheet, then me. You're going to make me ask. I'm going to let you decide. He takes a breath. Show me what I'm missing. I point to the census feed, then the cart tags. Darren redirects 2 workers, shifts standard sheets to the second truck, and pulls the isolation buffer forward. The dock departure slips 11 minutes, but St. Vincent's receives the correct mix. He enters the correction in the shift log under his own name. That small act earns him more respect from me than Owen's entire presentation. My father is sitting in my office when I return. He has turned off the overhead light, leaving only my desk lamp and the new dashboard's green glow through the window. "You made your point," he says. "I moved bath blankets. You humiliated your brother. Owen managed that portion himself." Walter's mouth draws tight. He has spent 15 years preparing to run this company. So have I. He brings in business. I keep it. You think I don't know what you contribute? I think you know exactly what I contribute. That's why you expect me to give it away quietly. He rises slower than he would have a year ago. Your mother could pull you two back from the edge. My mother would have asked why his name was on my work. He looks toward the empty rectangle on the wall. She also understood that family has to survive being right, he says, and I have to survive being useful. The words hurt him. I see it. He leaves anyway. My email chimes before I can sit down. Simone has written to Owen, Walter, and me. I'm told Elena is no longer attending recovery calls. Because the current service protocol was represented as her design during our review, please confirm whether she remains accountable for it. Owen answers before I finish reading. Elena is supporting an internal transition. Darren Pike will be your operational contact going forward. Simone's reply comes 4 minutes later. Then please remove Elena's name and credentials from every protocol you expect Darren to certify, and provide the revision history showing authorship and approval. Across the floor, the dashboard's recovery circle changes from green to yellow. The yellow circle lasts 19 seconds. Then the dashboard refreshes, turns green again, and changes its label from recovery status to operational status. Marcus tilts his head. Cured. Owen has administrator access. Powerful medicine. My email chimes again. Owen wants me in his office. He has printed Simone's message and placed it squarely in the center of his desk. Behind him, the shelves hold binders with matching blue spines, a framed logistics award, and a photograph of our father handing him the keys to this plant. Owen keeps his office the way he keeps a client meeting. Every object knows its assignment. He points to the chair. I sit this time. Standing would please me too much. "What did you say to Simone?" he asks. "On the tour?" "Since?" "Nothing. She copied you. She knows my email address." "Did you tell her you were being removed?" "You told her. I said you were supporting a transition. That's how you say removed when regional directors are listening." He pushes the printed message toward me. "She's asking for revision history because you planted doubt. She's asking because you presented the protocol as mine when it helped you and Darren's when mine became inconvenient. You think this is vindication?" "I think it's a request for records." His hand flattens over the page. "Then give Carla the records." "I already did." The color rises from his collar. "When?" After she paused the acknowledgement. I gave her the controlled folder location, approval emails, and revision log. "You went around me." Human Resources asked. "I'm your supervisor. You're also disputing the authorship." The office door opens. Carla steps in, carrying her legal pad and a thick printout. "I was told this meeting concerned the review," she says. Owen looks at me. I give him a small shrug. "Your calendar invitation included her." Carla sits. "I've compared revisions 2 through 6. Elena is listed as document creator. June Park approved the boiler rules. Marcus Bell approved night shift dispatch sequencing. Owen approved revision 5 as department head. Revision 6 was approved by Walter. My father's electronic signature, I had forgotten that. Owen had asked him to approve it at 6 in the morning, when St. Vincent's isolation demand climbed and we needed authority to prioritize their buffer. Walter had signed from his office with one line, "Run it." Owen turns to Carla. "File metadata doesn't establish strategic authorship." No, she says. It establishes document history. The ideas came from daily recovery meetings. Carla flips a page. There are meeting notes? My notes? Dated before the revisions? He looks toward his binders. For a strange second, I want him to find something. A real page. A sketch that proves he had once sat with the problem instead of only the result. I'll provide them, he says. Carla nods. Until then, the post-mortem remains unapproved. We should answer the client factually. Elena designed and documented the protocol while reporting to operations leadership. Darren is being trained to manage it. Owen's smile is thin. That wording makes this company look disorganized. Carla closes the printout. The records make the company look like it has records. After she leaves, Owen keeps his eyes on the door. You've made an enemy of the person who signs your performance review, he says. My review should have records too. Everything is a file with you. Files don't get tired of being told they imagined things. His gaze snaps back to mine. I have hit somewhere deeper than I intended. He lowers his voice. You always do this. Do what? Keep receipts on people you claim to love. The sentence sits between us. Our mother used to keep grocery coupons in a flowered envelope. After she died, I found one of Owen's old traffic tickets folded among them with a note in her handwriting. Paid. Don't tell Dad until after the quarter closes. She had protected him too. The family habit had a long history. I kept production records, I say. You kept leverage. I kept my work. He turns his chair toward the window. Your bonus recommendation is due Friday. Send me the criteria. I did. The message is waiting when I return to my office. He has added a leadership measure called organizational alignment and given it 30% of my evaluation. The document is dated that morning. Darren reads it over my shoulder and whispers, That's subtle. You should see him parallel park. I'm serious. He wants you to resign. He wants me to sign. What happens if you don't? I look through the window at the workers moving blue carts under the dashboard. I find out what my work is worth when I stop donating it. The plant grows quieter around me in ways the production reports cannot measure. 2 supervisors who used to stop by with coffee start sending formal emails. A route coordinator removes a joke from a message before forwarding it to Owen, leaving the sentence oddly punctuated. At lunch, conversations pause when I sit down and resume after I open my salad. June drops into the chair across from me. You have become socially radioactive, she says. I noticed. I've always wanted to eat near a glowing object. She unwraps a sandwich. Marcus joins us with vending machine pretzels and sets 3 printed shift logs on the table. Why are you carrying those? I ask. Owen wants the recovery codes removed from the narrative field. Why? He says the dashboard is the official source now. June bites into her sandwich. The dashboard was wrong twice yesterday. 3 times, Marcus says. I only reported 2. The third was insulting. I read the top log. Beside the bath blanket correction, Marcus wrote blue +2 verified against Rev 6. Did he ask you to alter completed logs? He asked me to standardize terminology. What did you say? I asked which record retention policy he wanted me to violate. June smiles. Marcus flirts through procedure manuals. He left before answering, Marcus says. Keep the logs exactly as entered, I tell him. Store them where policy requires. Don't make copies for me. He raises one eyebrow. I mean it. We don't need a secret archive. We have a normal archive. That's less exciting. It's also harder to call a conspiracy. Darren arrives carrying his legal pad and does not sit. Renewal review is next Thursday. June looks up. That soon? Owen moved it forward. He wants to show the directors the dashboard and run a live demand scenario. My fork stops halfway to my mouth. What scenario? St. Vincent's census escalation. 2 tiers. Marcus turns to me. Blue +2. Darren nods. He says it demonstrates transferability. Which revision are you using? I ask. His revised procedure. Which revision? He called it Executive Release 1. June wipes her fingers on a napkin. That sounds expensive. Darren puts the procedure on the table. It is 8 pages shorter than Revision 6. Owen has replaced my link sequence with 3 broad phases: prioritize, process, dispatch. The words are polished. The decision rules are gone. He removed the isolation mix table, I say. He said it overcomplicates the demo. It controls the demo, I told him. What did he say? That I was relying too heavily on your system because you trained me to. Marcus opens his pretzels. You've been trained to rely on the system being demonstrated. Troubling. Darren glances toward the door. He wants me to certify this by tomorrow. Will you? No. The answer comes before I finish asking. Darren's face is pale, but his voice is steady. Then tell him what you can certify, I say. Your training, the parts you've operated, the corrections you've made. He'll remove me. Maybe. You sound calm about that. I'm not the one with drywall compound in my desk. He almost laughs. Then he folds the procedure and walks out. Owen removes him from the demonstration by 4 o'clock. The replacement is Nolan Reed, our day shift production manager. Nolan knows the wash floor, likes dashboards, and has never met a green metric he didn't trust. He also wants Owen's current office if Owen becomes general manager. Ambition makes him attentive. For the next 4 days, Owen and Nolan rehearse the renewal scenario behind the glass. The digital dashboard gains a client view with Mercer blue headers and smooth animated arrows. The system looks clean enough to eat from. I complete my assigned documentation. Every section contains its revision source, approval date, and accountable role. When Owen tells me to remove individual names, I replace them with job titles but leave the approval matrix attached. He returns the file with one comment: too defensive. I reply, please identify the factual correction required. He does not. My father stays away from my office. On Wednesday, I find a white bakery bag on my desk with an apple turnover inside. He brings them when he wants peace without language. I eat half, wrap the rest, and send him a message. Thank you. My answer is still the same. The following morning, the other half is gone from the staff refrigerator. That feels appropriate. Simone arrives for the renewal review with Peter Shue and 2 hospital supply directors. Owen greets them at reception. Walter wears his dark suit. Carla attends at Simone's request because the agenda includes governance and accountability. I am assigned to documentation support in the back office. At 10:17, Simone appears in my doorway. Owen said you were preparing records. I am. He also said you preferred not to attend. That part is new. She looks at the gray cabinet, the bare wall, then through the window at the dashboard. Where's the whiteboard? Equipment cage. Her eyes return to mine. Why? Digital transformation. Convenient. I wait. Would you join us? She asks. If Owen adds me to the meeting, I'm the client. He's my supervisor. And you're making him say it out loud. Yes. She nods slowly. I'm beginning to understand your codes. Owen comes to the doorway less than a minute later. Simone would like you present as a technical resource, he says. Please send the invitation. His nostrils flare. Simone checks her watch. The invitation reaches my inbox. I bring the revision history. The demonstration begins well. Nolan enters a 2-tier census increase. The dashboard raises the hospital priority, assigns additional carts, and advances the first truck departure by 20 minutes. Owen explains each phase with easy confidence. Peter Shue asks about labor capacity. Owen answers correctly. Simone asks about truck seals. He knows those too. Then Nolan selects the isolation demand option. The dashboard allocates 2 extra blue carts, exactly as Owen said on the tour. It does not change the linen mix. On the floor, the system releases standard hospital sheets from Tunnel 2 and sends the isolation blankets behind a low-priority load of hotel linen, already entering Flatwork Line 3. I see it on the client screen. So does Simone. What happens to our bath blankets? She asks. Owen looks at the arrows. They're included in the additional volume. No, I say. They're behind the hotel load. Nolan clicks through 3 screens. The dashboard shows sufficient pounds. Simone's voice hardens. We don't order pounds. June appears at the conference room door, still wearing her hard hat. Flatwork 3 is committed for 48 minutes. If the isolation load waits, St. Vincent's morning reserve falls below the contracted floor. Owen looks at me. Correct it. Who has operating authority? Nolan. Nolan's hands hover above the keyboard. The procedure won't let me break sequence without executive approval. Owen taps his own badge against the console and approves the override. The hotel load keeps moving. It approved priority, I say. It didn't create a processing window. Then tell Nolan the sequence. Simone watches us both. I close the revision folder. You removed the sequence. Owen steps close enough that only I can hear him. Fix it now. We'll sort out the rest afterward. 3 months ago, I would have done it before he finished the sentence. I would have found June, shifted the tunnel release, called Marcus in early, moved the truck, and let Owen explain the rescue upstairs. I take Simone's business card from the folder and place it on the table. I'll take temporary operating authority in writing, I say, direct access to the client, and the correction goes into the review record under my name. Owen stares at me as the dashboard turns red. Walter gets there before Owen does. Carla, he says, what do you need? Carla opens her legal pad. Written scope, duration, reporting line, and authority to direct production for this incident. How fast? I can draft it in 5 minutes. We have 8, June says. After that, Tunnel 1 takes the next surgical formula and locks us out for an hour. Walter looks at me. The room, the account, and the succession decision are all sitting in his face. What scope? He asks. Hospital recovery through confirmed delivery, I say. Authority over wash sequencing, finishing priority, labor movement, and dispatch. June retains maintenance authority. Simone receives status directly. The review record states who identified and corrected the failure. Owen steps between us. You're letting her hold an active client load hostage. I'm standing in a meeting you removed me from, I say. Your authorized managers are at the console. Nolan looks as though he would like to become part of the console. Simone closes her folder. Our reserve is the hostage, Owen. Elena is negotiating responsibility. Peter Shu checks the client screen. 7 minutes. Walter takes out his phone. Carla, dictate. Carla does. He types with one finger, makes 2 errors, corrects them, and sends the authorization to everyone in the room. My phone vibrates against the table. Owen reads the message over his shoulder. This is reckless, he says. Walter pockets the phone. Then help her succeed. I turn to June. How long until Tunnel 1 clears? 6 minutes. Can 2 take the isolation formula after the current rinse? If I shorten the standby wash and hold steam pressure at 180. Risk? Valve gives us trouble. We lose both tunnels for 15 minutes. Your call. She thinks for half a second. I'll hold it. Nolan, release the isolation mix to Tunnel 2. Use revision 6, blue +2. He glances at Owen. You report to me for this incident, I say. He opens the controlled procedure. Releasing now. Darren, what's on the dock? He steps out from behind Peter, where he has been observing the demonstration he was removed from. St. Vincent's first truck is staged. Second driver is due in 35. Hotel route leaves in 22. Put the first hospital truck on the standard clean load. Move the isolation carts to the second. Hold the hotel route 12 minutes and split its flat work with the afternoon truck. That'll miss their first dock slot. By how much? 17 minutes if traffic behaves. Call their receiver, give them the corrected estimate, and log the service variance. He nods and is gone. Nolan, send 4 people from Standard Pack to Flat Work 2. Keep 3 on the hotel load until it clears. Flat Work 2 runs slower. It only needs to beat the second truck. June is already speaking into her radio as she heads downstairs. The conference room fills with movement. Simone and Peter take positions near the glass. Carla writes, Walter stands beside the table, one hand braced against the back of a chair. Owen remains by the console. "You're starving the afternoon routes," he says. "I'm borrowing 40 minutes from them. Based on what labor assumption?" 4 packers and a 12-minute hotel hold. Truck cost? 1 redelivery avoided, 1 hotel variance absorbed. He calculates it. I see the moment the numbers settle. "Use Route 7 for the afternoon split," he says. "It returns empty after River County." That is a good adjustment. I tell Darren over the radio. Owen's eyes flick toward me, surprised that I used it. "You're still Operations Chief," I say. B1. For the next 30 minutes, the room becomes what the presentation pretended it was, a functioning operations team. Tunnel 2 accepts the isolation formula. June holds the steam pressure with her technician beside the troublesome valve. Nolan corrects the release sequence and stops looking at the dashboard's summary circle. Darren moves the trucks and gets the hotel receiver to accept the delay. Owen finds enough unused capacity on Route 7 to protect the afternoon delivery. I write the sequence on a portable flip chart because the whiteboard is in the equipment cage. C3, T2, F2/1125, blue +2, R7 PM split. The marker squeaks across the paper. Simone photographs it. At 11:21, the first isolation blankets fold off line 2. They are stacked warm and square, 12 to a bundle. At 11:37, Darren reports the second truck sealed and leaving the yard. Simone checks the seal number against the dashboard, then against the dispatch log. "Projected arrival?" she asks. 1:15, Darren says. "Our floor?" 1:48. She nods. 33 minutes. The reserve never crosses the contracted minimum. I send the completed incident status directly to Simone and copy everyone named in Walter's authorization. The final line states that the dashboard's executive release failed to distinguish total weight from required linen mix. Corrective sequencing was performed under Revision 6. Owen reads it without comment. Simone looks through the glass toward the clean floor. "I want to finish the review," Walter says. "Of course." With the original whiteboard. Owen's head turns. The board is obsolete. The board appears to have understood our demand better than the new system. "It was a temporary visual aid." Simone picks up her folder. Then, reviewing it should be quick. Luis answers his radio from facilities. 15 minutes later, he and another worker wheel the board into the conference room on a maintenance cart. A strip of masking tape with the asset number is stuck to the frame. The surface carries smudges from the move, but the lower corner is untouched. C3 T2 F/540, R1 B4, blue +2. My codes remain. Simone approaches the board the same way she did on Monday, slowly enough that everyone watches her. She opens her folder and lays out printed photographs across the table. Each shows the board at the end of a different shift. Some are taken in darkness, the glass reflecting the conference room lights. Others catch sunrise over the loading yard. My handwriting changes with exhaustion, tight at the beginning of a shift, slanted by midnight, but the sequences repeat and evolve. 91 daily images, Simone says, sent to us during recovery. Owen folds his arms. By the recovery team. From ELENA'S email. At my direction, Simone places 3 photographs beside the physical board. These are the sequences that correspond to our 3 most serious service risks. June. Do your boiler logs show the maintenance windows marked here? June checks the dates. Yes. Darren, do the dispatch sheets show these departure changes? They do. Marcus Bell isn't here, Carla says, but his signed shift logs are in the record package. I slide the package across the table. Night dispatch sequencing and cart verification. Simone turns to Owen. Explain R1 B4. He looks at the board. Route 1 Buffer 4, he says. That's part of it, I say. Simone holds up one hand, keeping the question with him. What action did it trigger? Owen studies the photograph's date. It protected critical hospital inventory on Route 1. Which inventory? His eyes move toward me. I give him nothing. Isolation linen, he says. Peter opens the hospital's service report. That date involved surgical packs. Owen's face tightens. Then surgical inventory. What is B4? Simone asks. He takes a breath. Buffer 4. What does that mean? The machinery below us continues its steady rhythm. A cartwheel squeals somewhere near finishing. Owen looks at our father. Walter keeps his eyes on the board. Simone asks him about a second sequence. He gets the truck route right and the release trigger wrong. On the third, he identifies the wash tunnel but cannot explain the double slash before the departure time. Then she turns to me. R1. B4 meant Route 1's surgical pack buffer had fallen to 4 hours. I say. The action was to move approved packs onto the first clean truck, even if the standard linen load wasn't complete. I point to the second photograph. The red mark here shifted rewash priority because the barrier gowns had failed inspection. The double slash on the third sequence means a split departure. First truck leaves at the time on the left. Remainder follows at the time on the right. Simone matches my answers to the service report. Peter matches them to truck seals. June's boiler records establish why the wash windows moved. Marcus's logs show which coded instructions reached night shift. Darren's dispatch sheets show the trucks that carried them. Each answer connects to something that existed before Monday's presentation. Owen moves to the window. In the glass, his reflection overlaps the production floor. The entire operation reported to me, he says. I made the client commitments. I secured the weekend labor and supply concessions. I carried responsibility for the result. You did, I say. He turns, ready for another attack, and the agreement unsettles him more. You also took credit for work you couldn't explain, I say. Both things are true. Simone gathers the photographs into a single stack. That distinction matters to us. We can work with a company whose executives have different skills. We can't base a service protocol on invented authorship. Walter lowers himself into a chair. Peter slides the renewal draft across the table. We are prepared to renew, with corrective conditions. Owen faces him again. Elena retains documented authority over the hospital service protocol, Peter says. The client receives revision history for operational changes. Material service corrections require direct reporting from the accountable process owner. And the dashboard? Nolan asks. Fix it, Simone says. Then validate it against the operating rules it replaced. The renewal term is shorter than Walter wanted, with a formal review after 6 months. The company keeps the account. The conditions sit in the contract like bolts through a repaired beam, visible, necessary, and expensive to remove. After the client leaves, Walter asks Owen, Carla, and me to stay. He closes the conference room door. The whiteboard stands between us on its maintenance cart. Owen, he says, the general manager announcement is postponed. Owen's face barely changes. For how long? There will be an external assessment of the role in your performance. You're off the St. Vincent's account effective today. You're giving it to her. The client made that a condition. You signed away operational control in front of them. I signed temporary authority because the people you appointed could not perform the demonstration you designed. Owen's eyes moved to me. You wanted this. I wanted my name left on my work. And now you get my job. I haven't been offered your job. Walter rubs his forehead. You remain Operations Chief. Fleet, vendor management, and general production stay with you under the existing structure. Hospital protocol and process systems will be separate. Owen lets out a quiet laugh. So she gets the success and I keep the mess. You tried it the other way around, Carla says. He looks at her, almost admiring the precision. Walter asks him to leave. Owen pauses beside the whiteboard. You should know, he says to me. The weekend staffing concession was about to expire when I renegotiated it. Your sequence would have failed without those people. I know. You never said that in there. I did on the plant tour. You were talking. His mouth shifts. It could become anger or a smile. It becomes neither. I thought if they saw how much of this was yours, they'd decide I wasn't ready, he says. Were they wrong? He looks at the codes. Apparently not. It is the closest he can come that day. Carla brings me a proposal the following week. Director of Process Documentation, reporting to Owen, with a salary adjustment large enough to look respectful from a distance. I return it unsigned. My counterproposal names the role Director of Operational Systems. It gives me authority over cross-department protocols, a direct reporting line to the general manager, and control of the hospital recovery model. It restores my full bonus, adds the compensation I lost during the reassignment, and requires named approval records for process ownership. Walter reads it in his office while I sit across from him. You learn to negotiate from your brother, he says. I learned what happens when I don't. He taps the compensation line. Carla says the retaliation review supports this. Carla uses longer sentences. He almost smiles. Then he sets the pages down. I asked more of you because I thought you could carry it. You asked me because I was cheaper to disappoint. His eyes close briefly. Yes, he says. The honesty leaves us with fewer places to hide. I won't discuss work at family dinners, I tell him. I won't fix Owen's decisions without authority. And when you mean peace, you can't keep asking me to provide it alone. He signs the proposal. The 6-month review passes with the hospital's service levels above target. Owen rebuilds the vendor program and cuts route overtime without putting his name on anyone else's process. We speak in scheduled meetings, mostly. Once he sends me a capacity plan with the note, your codes would make this uglier, but better. I send back, correct. Luis mounts the old whiteboard in the training room behind clear acrylic. The gray smear where Owen erased my name has faded into a cloudy streak. The codes in the lower corner are still sharp. Beside the frame is a small metal label, Hospital Recovery Sequence designed by Elena. Mercer validated in 91 consecutive shift. I stand there before the first training session, holding a fresh marker I cannot use on the sealed surface. Walter comes in, reads the label and straightens it, even though it is already level. Through the acrylic, my reflection settles over the old board. Behind it, my codes remain.